is your Emory Henry Reports sports interview. I'm Daron Vaught, and today with me is head football coach of the Emory Henry team, Don Montgomery. Don and the Wasps are off to a 3-0 start as of this past weekend. Coach Montgomery, thanks for joining me.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for asking.
Now, Coach, 3-0 start. People are pretty excited about that. How about just a general response? How do you feel?
Well, I'm real excited about it. I kind of felt like we were going to be in this position as the season rolled on because I really believe in everything that our kids did in the off season, and we've had a level of confidence coming into this year. After winning our last 3 games last year, we kind of have been riding the tide of momentum, and I've got an outstanding senior class and a lot of unity on our football team right now. So I'm very happy, but I'm not surprised that we're 3-0 right now.
That's a good feeling, I guess. You know, you joined Chris Hatcher and myself on our radio show, Sportographic Material, and I know you talked about attitude and leadership being a big deal. And aside from the wins column, how exactly do you feel about your team's specific performance?
They're doing very well. Of course, you can always get better, and right now what we're focusing on is, you know, I tell our team it's really more about us than it is about our opponent. You know, we're kind of stopping ourselves with needless penalties, jumping off sides, you know, an errant snap here and there, miscommunication in the secondary with our coverages, but all in all, you know, and 90% of it's cleaned up, and I think our team's going in the right direction. We're riding the tide of momentum right now, and I think we've got good enough leaders on the team that we can handle success and we can handle disappointment. So I feel real good about those kids.
You mentioned the few mistakes. The red zone turnovers come to mind for myself. What in particular have you done to straighten those out?
Well, we practice in the red zone a lot more. Last year at this point in time, you know, we weren't nearly as good. We're 13 out of 16 in the red zone right now. And that's a lot better than last year at this time. I believe we were about 50% last year. Right. So, you know, it's very critical that you practice the areas that you're weak at, and you know, try to not get complacent or comfortable with being 3-0 right now. But remember that the next opponent will bring about new challenges, and anything that you show that is like a clink in your armor, they're going to go after it, you know, in the next game. So you got to watch with a careful eye that you don't get overconfident, and at the same time you want to breed confidence through practicing things that you feel could beat you, and try to shore up those weaknesses right now.
Definitely. So with that in mind, what are you expecting this coming weekend with Methodist?
Methodist is a you know, they've played two games. They got beat by Randolph-Macon. Kind of gave that game away. Randolph-Macon scored 3 touchdowns on special teams and then one on a fumble return. So Methodist was never in the game, but then they turned around and beat Guilford. And there are two different, defensively, they're two different teams. One game they're sitting back and play a lot of read defense, and in the other game they're blitzing every down. So, you know, it's hard to prepare as an offensive coordinator. Coach Gordon's got his work cut out for him there. We watched a lot of film today on Methodist, and they certainly are a young team with a lot of athletes that can run, and they get to the ball and wreak havoc. Offensively, they've got a new quarterback that's a really good athlete, and a couple running backs back from last year, but their offensive line's young. And I think our defensive line is one of the strengths of our football team. So, you know, I'd like to see us be able to stop them running and force them to pass. And then right now we are doing pretty good with, we're leading the league in interceptions and leading the league in pass defense. So right now, you know, if we could force them to play into our strengths, that would be really good.
Right, the pass defense definitely has been a strength for you guys, especially in the red zone. For me in particular. Now, Coach, you had to know this was coming when you talked to me on the radio. We talked about the decision to start Dustin Beck over Drew Piscopo. Just speak about how well he has done in his first year as a starter.
Well, you know, Dustin's everything that, you know, you could tell a young, you know, he's done everything that you could tell a young guy. Hey, you're not going to come in as a freshman and start. You're going to fight your way up through the ranks. And every step that you take, you're going to, you know, number one, show everybody else there's hope for the evaluation and the ability to move from one level to the other. And you know, he has worked real hard to get where he's at, and I think what happens is that he shows everybody else that there's a way to get what they want without somebody giving it to them, you know, and that's what athletics is made up all about. And I think that's a great success story. I think it's made Drew better. I think it's made Dustin better. And you know, we have a saying: "As iron sharpens iron, so we shall sharpen one another." And those guys have made each other better. I'd like to see Drew play a little bit more of a role in the football game, either as a wildcat back or. And I think that you're going to see some of those type of things happen as the season transgresses along. And we have two really good guys right there. And Drew is good enough to take us to 7-3 as a first-year starter. So that gives you an idea about what I feel that Dustin's strengths are. Right. You know, he's a good leader, makes good decisions. You know, solid guy. Those guys saw him work over the summertime, and you know, I think that he won that job in the summertime by, you know, all of his strength work and, you know, getting together with his receivers on his own and timing up the patterns, and he gained their confidence by his work habits. So, you know, I've been talking about ever since I've been here about, hey, nobody can give you confidence, you have to earn it, and he certainly did. That's
very true, very true. Now, with Dustin, is that something you projected him doing, you know, working for 2 years and eventually taking over the starting spot? As you know, when you recruited him, is that something you saw him doing?
When we recruited him, I saw him as an outstanding high school quarterback. Mm-hmm. And you know, he went through the normal thing that a freshman did whenever he got here, and that was he was trying to find himself. You know, trying to find himself academically, trying to find himself socially, trying to figure out whether or not he was even going to fit in at Emory and Henry. Right. His coaches did a great job of helping him to see his future. Last year, he was 4th team. And, you know, so he just got it in his mind that this is what he wanted. And, you know, he never allowed fear to get in the way of the faith that he needed to have in himself to, you know, and the system to move up through the system and gain the winning or the starting spot. And I think that's aspirational to all the young players to have to see that, hey, here I am right now, but if I really want something, I can reach out and take it. As opposed to, so nobody's going to give it to you, not in any sport, and nobody gives you a job. So I think it's a great thing, and I expect that trade will follow Dustin and everybody else that's watching throughout the rest of his life. So
well, I agree that it has. I've talked to Drew Piscopo about it on a few occasions, and he's taken it very well. You know, he's a very team-oriented guy. So I do in fact agree with you, and I think it's made them better. Well, thanks, Coach. We want to thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
That's it for your interview. Next, we've got Zach Hupp with this week's rant.